Hey guys, Mono here. Today I have a video that I think many of you will enjoy. I'm gonna go over how to kill these things right here. There are a lot of misconceptions about how to damage tank, where to shoot them and so on, and I think especially with the reintroduction of the Panther in update 12, a lot of people just don't know how to deal with it. They don't know if you can shoot the turret, if you always have to go for the rear of the tank when firing the bazooka. Those are the questions that I'll be answering in this video. Now, first thing you have to understand is that the penetration system for Hella Loose is quite binary. There's basically 4 types of armor and 4 types of guns, and they go like this: heavy, medium, light, and super light. The only super light gun is the 20mm cannon on the Lukes, and the super light armor is what all tanks have on the rear and what the recon tanks have all around. As you might expect, heavy guns can penetrate heavy, medium, light, and super light armor. Medium guns can penetrate medium, light, and super light, and so on. Bounces will happen when you shoot at the gun barrel or when you shoot at a very steep angle, like hitting the front of the Panther at an angle, but as I mentioned, the system is quite binary. A medium shot will penetrate medium armor 99% of the time. Now let's talk about something that I bet most people don't know about. I didn't know about this because at some point it was changed and it wasn't in the patch notes, and that is that the German Panzershrek and the American Bazooka are quite different. The Panzershrek is basically a medium gun when it comes to penetration, while the Bazooka is a light gun. So the German anti-tank is actually way more powerful and can get shots on tanks that wouldn't penetrate if you wanted to do the same thing with a Bazooka. Let's go over this in detail. Everything that the Panzer IV can shoot and penetrate, so can the Panzershrek. So you can actually shoot the Sherman medium and the Stuart from the front or the sides and deal damage no problem. You can actually shoot anything from the sides, even heavy tanks, and the shot will penetrate. The Bazooka, on the other hand, can't. It cannot damage the Lukes from the front, like the Panzershrek can damage the Stuart, and once you step up to a Panzer IV or anything heavier, you can only damage them by shooting the rear. The Lukes does have light armor on the sides, so you can shoot the side of it with a bazooka, but it's a very tricky shot since the tracks are really big, so you have to aim to this very narrow piece of side armor if you actually want to damage it. If you shoot the turret, you will damage it, but that won't damage the hull itself, which is what you need to do to destroy any tank. So yeah, I've argued multiple times that this makes the Lukes a much better tank than the Stuart, since it is way more effective at dealing with infantry than the Stuart is. So hopefully that's a major piece of information out of the way that most people probably didn't know about. I should mention that there's a site called the Tank Bible made by the guys from The Line, which is the single most detailed piece of information on the topic of tanks in Hella Loose that you can find anywhere, but it is quite a long document. So the idea of this video is to condense the information regarding tank killing in a much shorter and simpler format, but definitely check out that document. I will leave a link down to the website on the video description, and I want to thank all the guys from The Line for making such an incredible piece of information about the game. Moving on, there's a couple of differences between hull armor and turret armor that you should know about when it comes to each of the main tanks that the game has. So talking about the 3 Sherman tanks, the Panzer IV, the Panther, the Tiger, the IS, and the T-34, a good way to remember the armor profiles is as follows. All of these tanks have medium armor on the sides. The mediums have medium armor all around, and the heavies have heavy armor on the front. The turrets from the heavy tanks are heavy armor, and the medium turrets are medium armor. However, the exception comes in the shape of the Jumbo 75 and the Panther. The Jumbo 75 has a heavy turret and a medium gun, while the Panther has a medium turret and a heavy gun. So the same except opposite, if that makes sense. This means the Panzershrek cannot penetrate the turret of either of the American heavies, though it could, in theory, penetrate the Panther's turret from any side, which I think is quite interesting. However, even though the Bazooka and the Panzershrek have different penetration values, they deal the same amount of damage. It basically takes 1 shot to kill recon tanks, 2 shots for light tanks or medium tanks, and 3 shots for heavy tanks. Basically, you can kill any tank without needing a case of explosive ammo to replenish, except for heavy tanks. Light tanks follow a similar structure as a heavy tank, but with medium armor. It's medium armor on the front and light armor on the sides and super light on the back, just like everything else. The Steward has a light gun, while the Luke's, as I mentioned, has a super light gun, which can only penetrate tanks from the rear or the recon tanks from anywhere. Recon tanks, by the way, have light guns just like the Steward, and as I mentioned, the only super light gun is that of the Luke's, which is even weaker than the Soviet PTRS in terms of penetration. Now, in terms of where to shoot, that's actually pretty much all the information you need. You just need to remember about what gun you have and remember the armor profiles, which shouldn't be that hard to remember. Mediums are mediums, heavies are only heavy in the front and the turret, with swapped turrets and guns on the Panther and the Jumbo. Lights are medium on the front and everything else is pennable with everything. The PTRS is actually the same as a light gun, but deals very little damage, so yes, it can penetrate the sides of the Luke's and even the turret. It's basically a bazooka, but the problem is that unlike the bazooka, you can only fire it once you have it deployed with the bipod, making it extremely hard to actually land shots when you need to land them. It also takes 12 shots to kill a light tank on the back, which means reloading twice, so it's just not a very effective weapon, that's for sure, and that's why most people don't use it, because the alternative to that is the Satchel, and it is very effective. A Satchel would destroy any tank fully inside its blast radius, so if you put a Satchel on a tank, that tank's dead, and that's kind of pretty much all there is to say about it. You can put the Satchel next to a wall that is right next to the tank. That will work as well, because the Satchel blast goes through everything, and it has a 50-meter radius that you can check by pressing the T key. Once you press the Satchel, if you see the symbol, you are dead, so move away from it. Now let's talk about some tricks, of which there are many. First off, gun mantles add a layer of protection to the turret, so the mantle on the Panther will bounce shots that would otherwise penetrate the turret. Those are obviously from medium guns, but it will not bounce heavy shots. The mantlet on the Luke's will also bounce rounds, but this means areas that are not covered by the mantlet are vulnerable. So on the Panther, these sides of the turret can be penetrated from the front if you manage to land the shot on the small triangle that's not covered by the mantlet, and on the Luke's and the Tiger, you can actually bounce a shot off the bottom part of the mantlet onto the hull and get a penetrating shot that way, but it is extremely hard to pull this off, so don't count on it. But that is a way to penetrate the Tiger from the front with a medium gun and the Luke's from the front with a light gun. Another weird spot you can shoot is the very side of the front cheeks on the IS. Remember, the IS is a heavy tank, so it has heavy armor on the front, but these sides can be penetrated by a medium gun, so they can also be penetrated by the Panzershrek, or if you shoot it with a Panzer IV from the front. This is another shot that is extremely hard to land, so again, don't rely on it too much, but it can save you in a pinch. Alright, before heading on to the final topics, please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these videos and you haven't already, and check out the YouTube memberships if you want to support the channel. And now let's talk AT mines. AT mines are quite tricky, and you need to place them just right for them to work and take out a heavy or medium tank. This is again a topic where there's a lot of misinformation going around, but here are the basics. Placement of the mine really matters. A recon tank will always get destroyed by a mine, no matter how it runs over it, but all other tanks like heavies, mediums, and lights will not get destroyed if they hit the mine with the tracks instead of running over it with the hull. So ideally, you should place the mines in the middle of the road or the middle of the gaps on hedgerows to make sure that tanks are driving the middle of the tank over the mine. It takes one mine to destroy light tanks this way and 2 mines to take out heavies and mediums. However, huge asterisk here. You need to place the mines right next to each other so they are both hit by the tank at the same time. If you place them one after the other, the first mine will detonate the second mine, and that second mine won't damage the tank at all. So placing them like this is very ineffective and will deal the same amount of damage as placing a single mine. In an actual battle, you'll probably just want to place them whatever way you can, but keep in mind, it's probably better to put down 4 mines in 4 different spots if you can't place 2 of them correctly. There's no point in using 2 mines if only one of them is going to damage the tank. The last thing I should probably mention is AT guns. and they are actually quite simple. It takes 1 shot to destroy a light tank, 2 shots for a medium, and 3 for a heavy. AT guns were nerfed slightly in update 12, so it should take 1 shot less on console to destroy each tank until console gets update 12 as an update. I found the best way to build an AT gun without getting seen is to drop smoke artillery on the tank that you want to ambush. Dropping smoke where you're gonna build the gun usually makes the tank fire at it, and if there's no smoke at all, they will see the puff of smoke when you drop the blueprint, and they will kill you before you even build the gun. Alright, and that's pretty much it. I tried to be as concise as possible to help you remember what you can and can't shoot without having to necessarily memorize every single piece of armor of every single tank. Keep in mind that the dev team is always making adjustments to these values, so things might change in the future, but most of this information should remain useful for quite some time. I forgot to mention precision strikes, which have now been reduced from 500 munitions to 250, making them a bit more viable for killing tanks, but you have to be really precise with them as the blast radius is quite small. Alright, that's gonna be it. As always, share this video with new players if you think it will help them. Give it a like, leave a comment, and so on to help other people discover this information. And as always, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one.